Note number 6, the graphing calculator method. The graphing calculator method is the last method that we're going to quickly look at in solving a system of equations. There's 9 simple steps in using the graphing calculator method. I have them all outlined right here for you. So we'll just go through these steps while we work through these examples. So with number 1, we have our two equations, y equals negative x plus 2 and y equals 4x plus 7. So if we look at our graphing calculator, the first thing it tells us to do is to go to the y equals tab. And the y equals tab is right up here. So we type in y equals, and we should clear out everything. We can actually reset the memory, which is second plus 712. That'll clear out all of the memory that we have stored in there. So if we go back to the y equals, we type the first equation in y1. So the first equation is negative x plus 2. So I type that in y1. The second equation is 4x plus 7. We type that in y2. So we did steps 1, 2, and 3. And that tells us to press graph. So now we hit the graph, and there's our first equation, and then there's our second equation. So both equations are on our graph, and we see where they intersect. So we did step 4. Step 5 says press second trace. So we start and we do second, and then the trace button is right above the arrows next to the graph. So we do second trace, and now we want to go down to number 5, which says intersect. So we want to find where these graphs intersect. So I go down to 5 and I hit enter, and then it says the first curve. It asks you for the first curve. We hit enter. Asks you for the second curve. It's the second line. We hit enter. Now it says guess. Well, we just can hit enter again, and then the calculator will tell you the intersection. The intersection is -1, and the y value is 3. So our solution is -1, 3. So that's the graphing calculator method. So now we can reset our memory. Second plus 712. That resets our memory. And now if we look at example 2 here, we have go to y equals 3x minus 4 and negative 0.5x plus 6. So I type my two equations in y1 and y2. We go to the graph. So we graph both of them. We see the two lines. We see where they intersect. So now we go to the second button, which is next to mode. Trace, which is next to graph all the way at the top. And we want intersect. It says first curve, first line, we hit enter. Second curve, it's on the second line, we hit enter. It says guess, we hit enter, and it gives us this intersection point of 2.85711429. We're going to round that. We'll say that this is 2.9 and 4.5714. We'll round that to 4.6. So we have 2.9 and 4.6. So when we look at the third example, so we can clear out our memory. Second plus 712. Reset our memory. So we graph the first equation. So we go to the y equals. We have 5x plus 9. We can graph the second equation. 12x minus 3. So now I graph them. I see the two graphs, but I don't see where they intersect. So I know that they're both going up. So I have to adjust my window. So my window tab is right next to the y equals. And we can make if we look at the graph, we know that the intersecting point is going to be higher. So it's going to be up. So we can change our y value. So if we go to the window, the y max, it's at 10. We can say we can make it to 20 and see if we can see it now. So now it looks like we see it, but just to make it look better, we can guess, and we can just say let's change it to 30, and the y scale, if I were to count to 30, I might want to count by 3. So I'm going to change my scale to 3s, and that's just going to change the numbers in between. It's going to change all these points. These points are counting by 3s now. So now we see the intersection of these two graphs. So we did step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We changed it so we have the windows. So now we're on step 5. So with step 5, we want to do the second, the trace. We want number 5, the intersection of these two graphs. We hit enter for the first curve, enter for the second curve, enter for the guess, and it tells us the intersection is 1.7 and 17.6. Once again, we're going to round these. So we got 1.7 and 17.6. So 1.7, right here is the x value, 17.6 is the y value. So we can reset our memory again, second plus 7, 1, 2, and we go to y equals. Now we have negative 2.45x plus 11.75 and 3.5x plus 11.25. We can graph them. So once again, we see the two graphs, but we don't see where they intersect. But we know that we can make the graph go higher. Another thing that we can do is if we hit the zoom button, we can zoom out, so which is number 3. So zoom out, and we just hit enter, and it just zooms out the graph for us. So if you go to your window, it made this 40 and negative 40, so it just made the window bigger. So it shows us where they intersect, so we can see that they intersect somewhere. The way we find this out is we go to second trace. We want number 5 intersect. First curve we hit enter. Second curve we hit enter. Guess we hit enter. And it tells us they intersect at 0.08 and 11.5. So the x value is 0.08. The y value is 11.5. So the intersecting point 0.08, 11.5. And now for the last example, so we can reset our memory. 7, 1, 2. We go to y equals, and we type in our two equations. 3x plus 2, 3x minus 2. Look at our graph. We see both of the lines, but they didn't intersect. So if I zoom out again, zoom out, hit enter. So we still have both the lines. Now it makes it almost look like they're coinciding lines, but they still never cross. Now if you notice, these lines never cross. Well, what happens is we actually have parallel lines, and we know that parallel lines have no solutions. So when we look at these, they're never going to cross because they're parallel lines. So parallel lines have no solutions, and we also know that they're parallel lines because they both have a slope of 3, and they have different y-intercepts. So solution, there's no solution. No solution. These are parallel lines. And that was our quick lesson on using the graphing calculator to find our solutions to our system of equations.